Well, Jodien Houwers was 30 years old when she became a staff member in Groningen University in 1988. And one of the first meetings, I had the honor to help the vice rector for internationalization to a meeting in Galway. And I remember overwhelming energy that came from that meeting. Everybody was very much in favor of the Erasmus program. We were just about to start, but we realized that a lot of work had to be done, especially for those disciplines that were focusing on the national context, like the law, like the economics. And there were also representatives in that meeting from these faculties. And at this meeting in Galway, there were networks that started from that moment, and I think they still exist, as far as I know, for the law faculties and for the economic faculties. And that fitted very well in the structure of the Erasmus program in those days. So that was my first interaction, and I have since then I was the representative for Groningen, and well, I have been in this position until 2015 when regime took over. We had to use a lot of telex and fax, which was, of course, the things we could use in those days. But still there was this same energy that you wanted to collaborate. There was not so much competition. There was really an academic drive for academic contacts to use the academic contacts people in the faculty have, and how we could facilitate this from a central university office and make a good match. So I remember we used a lot of letters and a lot of faxes, and we also learned a lot of how international relations are dealt with in other European countries, especially when the Tempus program started. That we were aware that in most countries education was only in the native language, and that the international office very often is a sub-office of the rectorate. And it was very much a language office rather than international relations office. So that was for me quite an eye-opener. But well, what we became aware of, especially, is the difference in governance systems and hierarchies in universities. And that was always in the Coimbra Group very visible, that you have this distinction between those who are elected or have a position in the leadership of the university and those who do the daily work. And coming from the Netherlands, where I was used that we had very open communication between the different roles of those who are in the governance and the policy makers, that that for me it was very to see the differences per country. And that you know that you have to be aware that colleagues in Portugal or in Italy or in Poland, although they are very skilled and their position in the university is different from ours. And this is what we learned from each other, I think, and I hope that I could translate this to the extended family in Groningen, people in international relations and faculties, to get this awareness. There were some reorganizations in the structure and the governance and the task forces of the Coimbra Group. What I remember from the very first days, especially with Nanda de Bruij, my colleague from Leiden, and also with some international officers I knew from before, it was very much that you learn from each other how to have a centralized international office, what are their tasks, and see how you could involve the whole of the university. So what I remember from the first time is especially this cooperation attitude, which is still in the Coimbra Group compared to other groups that focus more on the policy lines and influencing EU. Coimbra Group, yeah, I think they are still very strong in trust and confidence and mutual cooperation, and that is so important. So I remember a meeting in Siena, that we had this meeting in this beautiful castle with all the people involved in international offices, and we made the first drafts for application forms and for what is good behavior of a university, where are your responsibilities towards outgoing and incoming students, and it was so yeah, instrumental and so important to have a common idea of this. That was really this cooperation. And also what I liked very much in APAT, and I'm a little bit regretted that this is not in the mobility group, this combination of educational development and mobility. So what we did in APAT is with the implementation of ECTS, the joint programming issues and all that comes along, career development, that it is in one go, so that you cannot split it up. Although in the implementation in the university offices, there are different units that are responsible. But what I liked very much about the Coimbra Group, and we owe so much as Groningen University in our partnerships in the Erasmus Mundus Masters, is that it is closely linked what those educational developers do in the faculties and centrally, and what the mobility people do. So that we had, I remember the last time that was that I was with the colleague from Louvain-la-Neuve, was wonderful to do it together. He was the vice rector for education in Louvain-la-Neuve, and I could bring in the mobility issues, and it was really a rewarding period that we could help Istanbul and other universities that had to implement ECTS, so that you could share the experience, not saying the way we do it is the best, but this is how we do it. Please pick up what fits in your system. So that was, yeah, I think that's great. I'm so grateful that I could help in this. It is a group of very important universities in Europe that have the whole spectrum of faculties. So the traditional research universities linked to most of them linked to the regional cities or regions. And I think when the Coimbra Group comments on European programs, they always include this aspect that the role, the wider role of a university beyond doing science and education, but the impact it has on its city and the responsibilities universities have on the region and on the national level. I think that the Coimbra Group is a university because of the type of universities resemble there, that you could call it a tradition, or you could call it a feeling of responsibility, that we have. That is what we have in common, and we can use it to voice it to the European Commission. Curiosity will never stop, I think. So the young people will stay curious and want to develop themselves and will be interested in learning and also the social aspect. So will stay important. From an educational perspective, I know that the best way of transferring knowledge is being in personal contact, working in the lab with a researcher. From this is what people learn the most, and that will never stop. So I think universities maybe will have to adapt to new situations like everything in AI or whatever comes up them. But I think universities will still be there in 40 years, and also the willingness of people to collaborate. Since what happened yesterday with this guy from America who thinks that he can overrule us, I think we have to stand up and say, well, we are there and we can manage our own household. We don't need these interruptions. No, I think in 40 years, cooperation, that's a human attitude. You want to share your interest and your cultures and be surprised and be curious. So curiosity will never stop. So we will cooperate. Well, that was when we had the opportunity to host the General Assembly in 1994. And again, in this important 400 years in 2014, it was so vibrant. It was this hosting this General Assembly, the boost it gives internally to our university staff and to the people, and to show them the importance of collaboration and to bring them in contact with the key figures, and the opportunity for our leadership and faculty people to have an informal setting where they can share experience with their colleagues from the Coimbra Group. That was fantastic. So it was quite a challenge to organize it, and you remember, but it was well, very rewarding, very, very rewarding.